welcome back to Retrieving Sanity with your podcast host Keegan, and this is your podcast for all mental health, addiction, recovery issues, and topics. And today we have a very special guest. Her name is Katharine Giovanni, and she has an awesome book. It's called The Ultimate Path to Forgiveness, Unlocking Your Power, and it's going to teach us a whole lot of stuff. But Katharine, I digress. How are you doing today?
I'm fine. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course. It's an honor to have you on, and I am super excited to see and hear what all you've got to teach us about forgiveness, because, I mean, isn't it simple enough to just say, I forgive you?
Sorta.
So
See, here's the thing about forgiveness. Everybody teaches you that you need to forgive. Mm-hmm. And in recovery, we're all taught you have to make amends and reach out and talk to people, right? Uh-huh. And your pastor tells you to forgive, and your parents tell you to forgive. Everybody. Yeah. Okay, how? Nobody teaches you how. Nobody. Yeah, they just say, do it. Uh-huh. Okay. And on a 10 scale, with 10 being unforgivable dumpster fire, and 1 being the easiest person in the world to forgive, every single person right now is thinking of their number 10 person. That one person they'll never forgive. And you might be that person. It might be yourself that is your number 10 person. And you don't want to forgive this person, which is fair. So I am the only one in the world that's going to look you dead in the face and say, you don't have to forgive the unforgivable. Why? Because there's a lot of people, places, and things. I did say places and things. Stay with me. Don't click off. That you can forgive before you even get to that number 10 person.
Really? That is super strange, because in a sense, it's like you're doing it almost backwards.
Exactly.
Right?
I want you to start with the easy ones, and I want you to work up to the hard ones. But here's the thing about forgiveness.
Okay.
Just because I forgive you doesn't mean I want a relationship with you.
Ooh,
I probably don't. I have boundaries in place, and I'm going to keep them there. I'm forgiving for me. Forgiveness is selfish. And here's the one that trips up 10 out of 10 people. Just because I forgive you doesn't mean I'm giving you a pass. It doesn't mean that you were right and I was wrong, and all of a sudden I'm giving in and coming over to the dark side, as it were. Uh-huh. It doesn't mean that. You're still wrong. You're still a dumpster fire, and you still need to make amends and do whatever you need to do. I have boundaries in place. All forgiveness means is I want you out of my head. That's it. I want you out of my head. I want to stop thinking about you. I want to stop obsessing about you. I want to get on with my life. And unlike recovery, which I do have I've been sober 35 years, but unlike recovery, you don't have to reach out and call people.
Interesting.
You do it in the privacy of your own home. So, that being said, you can forgive dead people. Because where they are or are not doesn't matter a lick. Because if they're alive and well in your head, you can forgive them.
Huh. That is so cool. And I love how you just summarized what forgiveness really is. It's just getting them out of your head.
That's it. That's all it is. It's very selfish. You do it for you. You don't do it for them. They're living their life. They're not thinking about you. They're, happy. They're doing whatever they're doing. You're the one miserable. You're the one sitting in your apartment eating a pint of Ben & Jerry's ice cream that strangely says serving size 6 on it, which is ridiculous. It should say 1. But you're the one, doing it to yourself. Buddha used to say that hatred and anger is like drinking poison and hoping the other person dies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That does not work well. As someone in recovery myself, and you as well, we both know how resentments work. And
sure we do.
And forgiveness is essentially the opposite of a resentment, would you say?
It is. Forgiveness is joy. Forgiveness is freedom. Forgiveness is, I want you out of my head. I'm originally from New York City, and I live in the South now. But I can promise you with every fiber of my being that we don't forget anything. So the idea of forgive and forget doesn't work with us. It's in our DNA. We're not forgetting anything. But what I can promise you is neutrality. It's going to remove the emotional charge. So you're not going to think good. You're not going to think bad. It's literally going to neutralize everything so you can breathe again. So here's why you probably want to forgive. And if you're listening to the broadcast, don't worry about it. I'll walk you through it. I'm holding a purple coffee cup to the right side of my body. This coffee cup represents anger. It represents bitterness, resentment, that kind of thing, grudges.
Okay.
And look at my body language. I can manage my anger really easily. It's real easy. It's not heavy. I can do this. I don't need to forgive anybody. But humans irritate other humans, and family will really mess you up. And if you don't take things out of the cup, you're going to keep pouring more resentment and more anger into the cup. Eventually, it's going to get heavy. So now I'm using two hands to hold up the cup. All right, my life has kind of stopped. Look at my body language. I can still have a conversation with you, but the anger is starting to get painful, and it's starting to filter into my conversations. And if I continue to hold on to the anger, now I'm holding it in front of my face. My life has stopped. I'm missing money-making opportunities because I'm not paying attention to them. I'm missing my dream relationship because I'm not paying attention to them. I'm completely focused on my anger. It's all I can think about. It's all I can talk about. I'm also starting to get sick and tired. I'm losing friends. Who wants to be with me? I'm negative all the time. And it's all I can think about. It's become a badge of honor. So my system and we'll go over the exact steps, but my system, by starting with the easy ones, is going to allow you to move the cup back over to the side. Now look at my body language. I haven't forgiven those number 10 unforgivable people yet, but my life has opened up, hasn't it? I'm starting to see opportunities again. And if you continue to work the system, eventually you'll be able to put the cup down. Now look at my body language. I'm free.
I like that. That's a great analogy, and it's really fascinating how you just made a cup something that could be the object of resentments.
Sure.
That is exactly how resentments go. You just pile them on and then maybe bottle them up, and then I used to kind of toss them to the side and hope they don't explode whenever they landed, you know.
Well, you toss them to the side and they end up in a back closet of your mind. And then your mind protects you like an overprotective best friend. And it closes that closet, that door, and it puts a padlock on it.
Yep.
And then so, in that closet is a movie that's playing. You don't even know it's there. You turn it off if you knew it was there, but you don't know it was there. And these things might have been from your childhood. And it's not going to turn off until you forgive them.
So how do we forgive the things we don't know that we can forgive?
Aha! So what I want everybody to do is I want you to be alone in a room. Okay. And here's something really hard for people. I need your cell phone off. There's an off button.
All right, hang on.
And if you can't turn it off and you're visibly twitching at just the thought, I want you to just put it on mute. Don't have it vibrate, because if it dances in your desk, you're going to look at it. I also want you alone. So all humans, little ones, big ones, I want them out of the room. I want you alone. The dog can be in there as long as he's quiet. And I want you to get a pad of paper and a pen. Not that I'm old and old-fashioned, but there was a study done years ago at Harvard University with a group of kids. And they followed these kids through the years. Half the class was told to write to say their goals out loud to the room. The other half was told to write them down on a piece of paper. The group that wrote them down on the paper were twice as successful as the group who did not. And they followed them over the years. So magic happens when it goes from your head down your arm and you actually write it down. You're going to do this exercise in detail later, but I want everybody to write down a list of all the people they think they have to forgive. And your unforgivables are going to be the very first ones. And that's fair. They're the ones that hurt you the most. They're the ones. My father was the first one on the list. My dad, my mom, I had a couple of others, an old business partner. And they were like, oh, yeah, boom, boom, boom. Some people put themselves. And we'll talk about how to forgive yourself. So that's even more fun. But I want you to write a list, and I don't want you to judge it. And I want you to think about who you grew up with. And the kids you were in the sandbox with, and who you went to high school with. And I want you to write down names. Write them down. If you write down the name Bob and you don't remember a Bob, I don't care. Write them down. Be very easy to forgive that guy because you don't remember him, but it's on your list. No judgment. Then once you have your list together, I want you to rate these people from 1 to 10. 10 being unforgivable, 1 being super easy.
Ooh, okay.
And then I want you, now, you could have 20 number fives. I don't care. You could skip a number. I also really don't care. But what I do care about is when you start the mantra, I want you to pick the easy ones, the people you've rated a 1, and work your way up the list.
Okay.
So you take the first name and you look at it. And the secret sauce is coming. That there's a reason why people don't stay forgiven. That you keep getting triggered.
Okay.
And
Interesting.
I want you to look at the name. Let's say it's somebody you grew up with in high school, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I want you to imagine that the person is standing in front of you. The kid you knew in high school, not the adult you might know today. I want you to see the kid. Now, here's your chance to get closure. Because remember, your number 1 might be alive or dead. It doesn't matter to me. So say anything you like. You're alone in the room. Get it out. Cry. Scream. I don't care what you do. Say whatever you want. If it's a level 1 person, you're probably not going to say anything because it's going to be really, really easy. It's going to be the person who took your parking space yesterday, right? It's going to be the person who stole your sandwich out of the lunchroom yesterday at work. Come on, people, you can forgive these guys, right? It's going to be the perfect person who chipped you in the hallway in high school. Something really, really simple. And you never talk to them again because you were just kind of that. You just didn't. So once you get it out, I want you to put your hand on your heart, and the words are really just for the stupid humans in the room. It's the energy behind the words that mean the most. And I want you to say, I completely forgive Martha. I forgive the energy around Martha. I forgive myself. I forgive the energy around myself. I forgive the energy around the entire relationship. And so it is. Amen. End it any way you like. Now check in with your body. Is that number 1 a 0? Great. Cross the name off the list. Okay. Was it a number 3 person and you're still a little mad? All right. Put a 2 on front of it. Wait 24 hours. Do it again. And this happened to a friend of mine in a private session, and I was watching her. And we made the first pass. It was a level 4 person. And all of a sudden, you could see it in her face. She got really mad, and it shot up to a 10.
Why?
Yeah.
Was there
Why?
something buried?
Remember that closet I was talking about? Well, the magic words, she just said the magic words. And her brain said, ooh, Catherine is ready. I'm going to open up this closet and flood her with memories she didn't know was there.
Oh, no.
Forgiveness is like an onion, and she'd forgiven the first layer. So she crossed out the number 4. She put a 10 there, waited 24 hours, and began that journey. She didn't know she was that mad.
Interesting.
Now, that's the magic sauce is energy. That's why people don't stay forgiven. People come up to me all the time, and they say, Catherine, I did do the work. Yeah, you did. And a lot of people have gone through AA, and we've done the big book, and we've done the steps. I've done the work. I have forgiven these people. Then why are you still getting triggered?
Yeah.
Why do you go to Thanksgiving with your family and it takes you a week to psych yourself up to go because you know you're going to be sitting next to Aunt Martha and you know what she's going to say? She's kind of a bitch and she drinks. So you know what's going to happen. So why don't they stay forgiven? You didn't forgive the energy. Einstein clearly proved energy is neither created nor destroyed. It just transforms from one thing to another. Science has also proved that everything on our planet, including this little silver microphone, has energy around it. And the energy is what's keeping you tied to the other person. And when you clear it, then you'll be able to move forward.
I love that. I love that a whole lot for multiple reasons. But I think the first one that really, really struck me was saying that forgiveness is also like an onion.
It is.
Because we talk about all these different aspects in recovery that are like layers. And forgiveness never really touches on, hey, you might have to dig deeper on that level too. It's always just forgive. Just go on. Just forget it. And wow.
Forgive and forget. But we don't actually forget anything. In the 8th grade, I tried to commit suicide because my parents were terrible raging alcoholics and I was getting bullied in school because I was different. And a friend of mine pulled me out, which when you're suicidal, you just need one friend, one phone call, right? And so she pulled me out and I just floated through life for the next, dozen years. And then my mother fell down a flight of stairs, broke her hip, and ended up in the hospital. And even my mother couldn't get a gin and tonic in the hospital, so she dried out. And we became closer than sisters. We practically finished each other's sentences. We forgave each other. She finally sobered up. And I had 3 brilliant years with a sober parent that I wish I'd had all my life. And then she died of breast cancer, which I eventually got years later. And I knew that if I didn't change my life right then, it was a flashpoint. And if I didn't change my life, I knew that I would die. So it was the only New Year's resolution I ever kept. I quit drinking that New Year's. It's been 35 years. And back in those days, thank you. Back in those days, we didn't have the technology y'all have. We didn't even have computers. If I could text these people, brilliant. That would have been great. I would have loved it because I was shy. We had 2 choices, Keegan, 2 choices. You call them up on the phone and you knew you're going to get yelled at because you're making amends. Mm-hmm. Or you have to see them in person, which is worse because they're right there in front of you. Mm-hmm. I couldn't text. I couldn't Zoom. Nothing. At least with Zoom or, at least, bad connection, But I had 2 choices. And so I didn't want to do either one of them. So I didn't. Mm-hmm. But I did sit in my apartment and I accidentally stumbled onto the first part of that system. I started to forgive people in my apartment, just me with me. Oh. And it helped. I didn't know about the energy or anything else, but it really, really helped. And the more people I forgave, the more my businesses, I'm a serial entrepreneur, the more people started to use my service. Oh. And I thought, forgiving my personal life should not be affecting my business's bottom line. But it did. It was all connected. The whole thing was connected.
That's interesting. To see a direct correlation between forgiveness and your business increasing as well, that does speak volumes on the energetic level of how all of us are interconnected.
Completely connected. And then there's the other part where I hate people just throwing these things at me and not telling me why and how. People will look at you and say, anger is toxic. Okay. I think we can all agree that stress kills and we'll get strokes and heart attacks and that kind of thing. Yep. Nobody ever answers my question. How? Yeah, so here's the how. It's a little science for the people who are struggling and really need scientific studies to back up what I'm saying. There was a study done in Japan, and it's called the Japanese Water Study. And you can Google that right online. It's right online. And it's a guy's name is Hasumoto, something like that. And what he did, and I'll say this fast just in the interest of time, he took several containers of water. One container of water, all he did was talk to it. Spoke beautiful, loving words to it. The other container of water, hate. The most hated things you can come up with, he said to this container of water. He then froze the water and put it under a microscope. The water he spoke love to had these gorgeous kind of snowflake kind of transformations. It was gorgeous. Pictures are online. It's really interesting. The water he spoke nasty things to had these black and brown sick malformations. Why am I telling you this? The human body is over 95% water. So when your self-talk is bad, when you're sitting in your crap, when you are sitting in hatred and anger and resentment and bitterness, what do you think you're doing to the water cells within your body?
Just destroying them.
You are destroying yourself from the inside out. You are literally destroying yourself. That's kind of the how behind it. So the alcohol was destroying one part of it, and your mindset is destroying the rest.
Yeah, so you've got your mindset destroying your energy body, and then you got your alcohol destroying your physical body, and so that is really hard to come back from. So what really ticked? Since you found all of this, there was something inside of your head that made you go, that is what I should do. What was that?
I think I've just always been a positive person. And even as a child, I had this habit of always seeing the light in people and to always think the good in people. And I used to get vilified for it because it was the 70s and you shouldn't be saying these things. It's a bad, whatever. Yeah, yeah. So, and my parents were drunks at the time. So I always knew that the world was not what it seemed. And it was a feeling. I'm very intuitive. But you couldn't say that out loud because if you said these thoughts, they'd slap a "you're crazy" as a bedbug sticker across your forehead and give you medicine.
Yep.
So I just didn't say anything to anybody. And when I got sober and I started to forgive people, I started to feel better. My body started to feel better. I wasn't as sick and tired anymore. People started to notice, so I just kept doing it. And then I went into the concierge industry. I'm a concierge and customer service trainer. I retired from that in 2020. And I had to come up with a method to allow people who couldn't leave their station to forgive customers on the spot. So I started to teach forgiveness in business workshops, which people didn't do back in the turn of the century. God, it makes me sound so old when I say that. Turn of the century. I know, I have to stop. It's awful. But in the 90s and the 80s and 90s, no, you didn't bring soft topics to business. I'm crazy. I did. And that's kind of how it all started. But when you're talking about the unforgivable, this is where it gets fun. Okay. So we'll use one of my own examples. Let's use the bully in school, right? Yeah, so yeah. I was so angry. I didn't want to forgive the bully. That's fair. And I didn't even want to forgive the energy around the bully. I just didn't want to. So I pulled apart the memory. Everything on our planet has energy around it. So you take this as a visual. You're driving to work. You get to a red light. And usually you take a left. For some strange reason, you turned right that day. You still got to work. Just took a little bit different turn. Beautiful 70-degree day. Had a beautiful cup of coffee. Everything was good. Your favorite song was on the radio. And you drove by your old high school. Didn't even give it a second thought. But by the time you got to work and you had a PowerPoint, everything was ready, clients, the PowerPoint failed. You started cutting off everybody's head. You were grumpy and everybody kept saying, "What's wrong? Did you have a bad day?" And you said, "I don't know what's wrong with me. I should be on top of my game. I know what's wrong." You drove by your high school and it was a trigger. And your brain saw it. And that closet opened. And it flooded you with memories. So how do you avoid the triggers? Well, I pulled apart the memory. I forgave the school building I went to school with. I said I completely forgive the building, the energy around the building. I forgave my desk, the chair. I forgave the classroom. I forgave the playground. I forgave the grass. I forgave the pavement. I'm not kidding. I forgave the people that stood around and didn't help me. I forgave New York City. I forgave 1974. That's the year I tried to commit suicide. And the energy around 1974. And I still haven't forgiven the bully. I picked apart the memory and I cleared the energy as best as I could. So that by the time I had done all that work, that number 10 person was down to a 9. And I don't know if by that point I still wasn't ready to forgive the person, but at least I could forgive the energy around the person and I could begin the journey. And if you're still really, really mad, keep going. It could be there are some unforgivable things in this world. There are. Yeah. And it could be that you will never be able to forgive that person. Could be a murder, could be a rape, it could be some horrible trauma. That's fine. Pull apart the memory. Forgive everything else. Forgive the bed, the table, the chair, the park, the city. Forgive everything else. Forgive yourself. Hello. And then keep going. If you can circle back later and do the work and forgive the person, God bless you. Most people can't when it's that big of a trauma. But if you never circle back, that's totally fine because you've pulled apart the memory and you've kind of released yourself from it.
Wow. That is, first of all, I've got to say, thank you for just giving us a powerful personal example because those can be really difficult to trudge up even the 5th time or however many times. But you're an expert at forgiveness. And this is super cool because you now have given us this starting point on forgiving the unforgivable. But what do you do whenever you want to go further? And real quick, I also want to do one thing. I love how you're making room for people to do that because you nailed it. A lot of people won't be able to forgive people, but they can forgive the things around it.
Exactly. You can't forgive, cool. Let me use a really horrible example. You can't forgive the rapist, but you could forgive the park. You could forgive yourself for getting in the car, going into the park, saying, accepting that dinner. You can forgive the bar. You can forgive the glass that got roofied. There's all sorts of things in the memory that you can forgive. Little things, the table, the bar, the city. You can pick it apart. The cigarette butt. There's always something you can forgive. The date on the calendar, the city you were in, the building. There's always something you can forgive. And if that's all you can forgive, that's great.
Because then at least you have, let's say they brought it from a 10 down to a 8 or a 7.
That's fine.
That's still like 30-40% of your head that you have back.
Exactly right. And don't forget, you're also forgiving the other parts of your life that you can forget. The people that you labeled from 1 to 8. You're forgiving all of that. So you're going to start to feel better. Eventually, will you be able to forgive that horrible thing? There's some unicorn people on the planet, that these hippy dippy people that just somehow are able to forgive these things. I'm probably not your girl, but they do exist. And I feel you forgive what you can and you keep going. Now, what if you are the one that you need to forgive?
Yeah, that I was about to say.
What if?
I wrote me first, and as soon as you said that, I was like, oh, man. I was like, crap.
I want you to do the first exercise first. I want everybody to do that first one and write down the people that you think you need to forgive and go through the list. Right? Never doing more than 10 a night. I want you to do it before bed because your body heals itself when it's sleeping, because you're probably going to be really tired after you do this exercise. Do it after dinner, right before bed. And never do more than 10 a night. And if you're doing like an 8, 9, or 10 person, do 1 a night, because those water cells your body's going to try and toss all that energy and all that sludge you've been holding on to for so many years. And so your body will heal itself. But if you do more than 10, do as I say, not as I did. I am an overachiever. Shocker, I know. And I do my own exercises, and I must have had 50 people down on the list, and I thought, this is going to be great. I'm going to rip the Band-Aid off. I'm going to do it all at once, and I'm going to do it all at the same time, and I'm going to wake up tomorrow a new person. Okay.
No.
Yeah, the universe has a terrible sense of humor, and I did forgive many people on the list. But I also spent the next 3 days in bed with what everybody thought was a stomach flu. It was not the stomach flu. It was my body. Remember the water cells? It was my body relieving me of all of those years of anger. Yeah. So only do 10 at a time, and your body will probably be able to mitigate it. If you're in the bathroom, like yours truly, you didn't eat a piece of bad fish, this too shall pass, you'll be fine. But if you are your own number 10, right?
Yeah.
I want you to do a second list. And this is the people you want to forgive you.
So you're saying if I've done transgressions against someone else,
right,
I want them to forgive that transgression, even if I haven't verbally communicated it with them.
Correct. You don't have to reach out and talk to anybody. This is all stuff you're doing in the privacy of your own home. Nobody has to know you're doing it. You do not have to reach out to these people. But it's the thing, in this list is a little different, because you're probably going to put names down of people you would really wish would forgive you. You're going to probably want to put situations and events, things you said that you shouldn't have said, things that you did that you shouldn't have done that led to somebody else getting hurt, whatever it is. So you may not always put a name down. You might put track meet, you might just, and that's all you need to do. You're going to have the memory. Write down anything you need. And of course, the ugly ones will be first, because that's how our brains work. But just keep going. And then, as before, I want you to rate them from 1 to 10. 10 being ugly, 1 being easy. And then I just want you to go through the list. And the mantra is you're just going to have to flip the words a little bit. Instead of saying, I completely forgive Martha, you're going to say, I'm so grateful that Martha completely forgives me. Ooh. You're just going to flip it a little bit.
That is an interesting one, and that's such a simple one that, of course, no one has seen it. But it's right in front of our face. I love it.
Yeah. And if you never get to that number 10 event, that person, that reason that you drank, or whatever it is, we all have that one huge thing. That's fine. And I figured this out because my father was my number 10. He passed many, many, many years ago, but you can forgive dead people, right? So I got my dad from a 10 down to a 1. And then I sat there and I thought about it. It took me months to do, to be honest with you. And once I finally got him down to where it was forgivable, I sat there and I thought about the one thing in my life that I regret. We all have one. And mine was I've been married for 33 years, and I was so mad at my father back in those days, I actually didn't ask him to walk me down the aisle. I had my brother do it. Ooh. And he was at the wedding, and I know it hurt him, and I've regretted it ever since, and there's nothing I could do about it. So I sat there and I thought about it, and I thought, well, now that I've forgiven my father, now I have to reverse it and go the other way. Now I have to see if I can reverse it and be forgiven for things I said to him in the heat of the moment. Yeah. And that's how I thought about it. It's, forgiveness is a spiral. So you go down, you think you're done. No, the universe has this sense of humor. Another onion appears. You're not done yet. So you just reverse it and you go the other way.
Okay, super interesting. And so, real quick, on that note, has it made it easier to actually have interactions with those people that you're like, I wish they would forgive me? And it's kind of one of those, like, you don't really tell them that, hey, in my head, you forgive me. So we're cool now, right?
Well, overlooking the fact that my family probably thinks I'm crazy, and I'm strangely fine with that.
Crazy is a great word.
Right? I really think being different was a benefit to me. And I can go, and it's actually easier for me because my family's mostly passed away at this point. But I can go back into rooms of people I've forgiven, and it doesn't bother me. I can talk about the weather. I'm the queen of small talk. I'll talk your head off. And if you're a narcissist, I can teach you how to talk to a narcissist in 10 seconds or less. You just keep the conversation on them. There you go, class over. And if they ask you something about your life, answer in a sentence and flick it right back to them. And they're going to think you're the best conversationalist ever. Well, okay. But that's how you just keep the conversation on them, and they'll be happy as a clam. And that's with family too. That's just keep it on them. Don't talk about yourself. Are you upset because they don't ask about your kids? Sure. Are they upset because they've never read your books or asked you about anything? Yeah. But after you do this forgiveness work, it doesn't matter. I can look back at my dysfunctional childhood, and back in the day, it was all I could talk about. It was my story, and I wore it like a badge of honor. Look what I survived. Look what I got through. And without my story, who was I? It's very scary. Who are you without your story? But now I can look back at my childhood and I can see the adults that were trying to help that kid. I could see the people and the teachers that were trying to help me. I could see the love. I could see the funny stories, various ones with my parents. There weren't very many of them, but I remember a couple. So it's not that I have forgotten my past. I just have a different perspective now. And this is what is going to be offered to you. I have people telling me, I don't want to go to my past. It was horrible. I understand that. But I'm only asking you to go back once or twice more, and you're never going to have to look at it again. Then I had somebody came up to me and said there was no love there. So there's nothing to shift. Yeah. Okay? That's horrible. But there's always something. There's a spark. There was a teacher that really helped you. There was a kid who helped you when you were crying in the hallway and helped you up. There's always something. There was an animal, maybe your dog, where you could hug your dog once in a while. There's always love that you can point to, even if it's only one or two things. Those are the things you'll remember. And if you don't remember any of those things, that's all good. The memory will be gone. You don't have to go back there.
Huh. So you're saying even if I forget the thing that I loved, the memory's gone and we're good?
No, if there was no love, I have a lot of people coming up to me and said my childhood was so horrific. There was nothing. There was no love. There was nothing. Gotcha. And there's always something, but even if there really was nothing, well, you've neutralized the memory. It's gone. It doesn't haunt you.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So that's it. Okay, so essentially without the negative, it's a positive. So there we go.
It's gone.
Yeah. So whenever you actually sit there and you have this onion popping up all over the place, did you find yourself having a field of onions all of a sudden? Like, oh, hey, I got an onion over here, an onion over here. Or was it more like you were really methodical and only focused on one?
You mean that field of banana peels I found myself in at one point?
Yeah.
Yeah. You get up and you slip on another one of the damn things. Back down you go. Yeah, I've been there. Been there.
So,
and you deal with it one at a time. And I do this practice every night. And I still do it to this day because there's always something you can forgive. You can forgive anything. You can forgive politicians, dare I say. I'm not going there. You can forgive the war in the Middle East. What's it going to do for the war in the Middle East? Absolutely nothing. But it's going to do wonders for your head. Anything on CNN you could forgive. Anything in your life you could forgive. There's always something to forgive, and that's going to make you feel better. Here's what's going to happen. Like energy attracts like energy. So as you start to feel better, people are going to notice. They're going to say, did you lose some weight? Something about you. You're just different. You look so good today. And you could tell them or not. And so you're going to be attracting into your life people that think like you, healthier people, people that want to see you move forward. But on the other side of the coin, you're also going to have some jackrabbits. These are the people that have been rolling with you for a while. They don't want to see you get healthy, and they certainly don't want to get healthy themselves, so they leave.
Ooh.
I had a couple jackrabbits. I've never heard from them again. They're just gone. And then you have the saboteurs. These are usually family and friends who look at you and say, I like the old Catherine. I liked the broken Catherine. I don't want to see her get healthy. I like the old one. So they're going to try and sabotage it. So Jim Rohn, who's a very, very famous motivational speaker, said you are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Who are you spending your time with? You get to choose. You're getting healthy now. You're forgiving people. Do you want to spend them with crazy Aunt Martha? Or do you want to spend it with forward-looking people? I don't have an Aunt Martha, so it's an easy name for me to use. But let me give you another somebody who came up to me once. And I'm not picking on the men. Don't email me. It's just one interaction. And remember, I used to be a customer service trainer, so I'm pretty good at masking what I think. And he came up to me and he said, I don't agree with you. Okay, I'll play. Why? And he said, I've made a lot of money. I smiled at him, and in my head I'm going, okay. And and I have a lot of companies and a great amount of success. And I did it on my bed of pain. I wake up every morning and I think about what happened. And I use that as the gasoline to fuel my engine. And it got me where I am today. Okay, I'll play. Let's talk about that. Sure. Okay.
Say, what?
Let's talk about it. There's two trains there's 2 trains you can take. Both will get you to your destination. You can take the express or you can take the local. And the local stops at every single stop. It's like going into a hotel. This has all happened to every one of us. And you're going up to the 72nd floor, and some punk kid just exited the elevator and pressed every single button between 2 and 74. And by the time you're stopping at every single floor, and even Job himself would be a crazy nut job by the time he get to the 72nd floor. The local train is the exact same thing. You're stopping at every single stop. You're going to be a bloody mess by the time you get to your destination. You'll get there, but it's not going to be pretty. It's going to be painful. Wouldn't you like to get off that little train of pain and hop on the express? You'll get there twice as far and twice as fast using love and forgiveness and joy than you will hate and revenge and unforgiveness.
Yeah, and that is really powerful because it sounds a lot like the light and dark side of the Force. No copyright, right?
No, that's right. But you can still get there if you want to continue on that train. You can get there 100%, but you're going to be a bloody mess.
Yeah, I was
not that the dude was a bloody mess. He was, just one of those guys. But, obviously there was a lot of pain to get him where it was because...
Do you think he was a masochist or a sadist?
Well, it took a little part of his soul, I think, because you could see it. You could see the pain in his eyes.
Yeah, and that's one of those things that whenever the pain is there, it's pretty much there until you forgive it, right?
That's
Do you have to forgive the pain itself?
Well, you can forgive the pain itself. I forgave breast cancer. I forgave the chemo chair. I forgave the chemo infusion. I forgave the 10 operations. I forgave the radiation. I forgave the hospitals, the buildings, the bed. I forgave all of it. And now I have absolutely no animosity about breast cancer at all. I'm completely free of it.
Sweet.
And I've been clean for 12 years. So there is that as well.
That is super awesome. I'm so happy for you and all of that. Whenever you found yourself with you, how did you convince yourself that everything is okay to be forgiven?
Honestly, it's because I woke up the following morning and I realized I was being given another day to get it right.
Ooh, I love that.
It was a brand new day and a clean slate. And the past couldn't hurt me as much as I was making it hurt me and reliving it and causing all these self-inflicted wounds by rethinking all of this stuff. But at the end of the day, it's all about your perspective. And every morning I'd wake up and say, okay, ouch, that kind of hurt. And I'd try it again.
So it was kind of like the opposite of what that same guy did. He said, ow, this hurts. I'm going to see how much further I can go while I hurt. And you said, ow, this hurts. How do I make it stop?
Exactly. I try to not make the same mistake twice. It's kind of a thing about it. But even I mean, you know, I can't be Susie Sunshine from Sunnybrook Farms 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Yeah. It's not sustainable. But being positive is like taking a shower. I kind of suggest you do it every day. And sometimes being positive is a daily practice. And sometimes it's a minute by minute, second by second choice.
Oh, yeah, that's for sure. And how do you dive into that whenever it's a second by second choice? Because those are the moments where it's like do or die, right?
I have a team of people and my 2 sons and my husband, and I kind of have a team. They kind of circle the wagons around me, so to speak, and some friends. So when I kind of get all inside of my stuff, I have some girlfriends in my family that'll circle the wagons. When I was alone back in the day, it's just something, I'm very intuitive. So it was just a thought that would come to my head, or I'd see a movie that would cause me to just shift my perspective. It was a matter of shifting my perspective. And at the end of the day, I got sick and tired of being sick and tired. That's really what it amounted to. I was just sick and tired of feeling like that. And I thought, I'm meant for bigger things. You know, I'm not meant to live in a refrigerator box on the street. I'm not meant for that. None of us are. It's not our birthright. And that's usually what kept me going, because I'd wake up the next morning and go, okay, try again.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I'm so glad that you are just right there on the perspective shift, because it is all about perspective shifts.
Yeah.
But you were also saying that you were sick and tired of being sick and tired.
I was.
And you don't like making the same mistake again. So you must have tried a whole bunch of things before you got to forgiveness.
You have no idea. I tried all sorts of things. I tried modalities. I read all sorts of books because I'm a voracious reader. And I thought, well, I tried various religions. I mean, I was just throwing things out at a dartboard, seeing which one would stick. And I finally figured out that all the answers, and this sounds trite, and I used to hate it when people would say it to me, all the answers can be found inside of you. Okay, how? I haven't found them yet. But I did find them, and it was right. All the answers are actually inside of you. It's a perspective shift. It's a matter of looking at life differently. So if you want to change your life right now, right this second, you can do 2 things.
What's that?
Turn off the news and stay off the bathroom scale. There you go.
I love that. That is great. I haven't heard someone say that before. I'm sorry, that second one just got me. Stay off the bathroom scale.
Hey, it's a matter of perspective. You know, if what's going on in the world is driving you crazy, well, take 24 hours and don't watch the news. Serious. Yeah. Turn it off for 24 hours. Go outside. I'm not telling you to meditate because a lot of people can't. Just go outside and just watch the joyful people. Watch the kids at a playground. Go to the supermarket. Purposely pick out the happy people. Notice them. Ooh. Pay attention to them.
Happiness is contagious.
Pick out a rom-com or a happy, something that makes you happy, a movie. Pick out some music that is just like an earworm, man, and it's just your favorite song ever. and just play it on a loop. Play it 25 times if you want. And this is going to change your perspective. And then before you go to bed, maybe you're one of those people that says, Catherine, I have nobody to forgive. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Say the following statement 3 times a night before you go to bed for the next week. I completely forgive myself for not being able to forgive and the energy around this thought. And here's what's going to happen. Maybe not the first night, maybe not the second, maybe not even the third. But at some point, that closet in your brain is going to open and things are going to come out. When the memories come out, get a pad of paper and a pen or your phone, I don't care, and write down what you're remembering. Some of you might hear things in your mind. Some people might see. Some people, you just might just sit and relive the memory for a minute. But whatever it is, write it down.
See, and that is what I was just about to ask you is, how do you know whenever you've found the sweet spot? It's got to be a feeling, right?
It's a feeling, you know. You just know.
Yeah, it's not something that you can go like, check mark that box, that internet test said, yeah, I forgave that thing, we're good. It's a feel of like a release, right?
Well, I was on the internet a few years back, and I am a serial entrepreneur, so I've had quite a few business partners, and one business partner in particular used to send me to the ceiling whenever I saw the name, and it took a couple days to get me down because I was just that mad. And I did the forgiveness work on this person, and I was on the internet one day, and I saw the name, and I didn't care. And then I was actually sitting right here, and I looked at it, I think it was on Facebook or something, and I caught myself, and I thought, I don't care. I don't care. And I was actually kind of happy. I even wished them a happy birthday because I didn't care. And that's when you're going to know you're not going to care. That's what I'm looking at. I'm looking for neutrality. I'm looking for you're not going to care. You're not going to think good. You're not going to think bad. The emotional charge will be gone. And that's how you know you've forgiven them.
And so what if someone said, well, what about if this story changed just a little bit? What if that memory was a little bit different? There's still a little bit of emotional charge there. Even if it's a positive trying to change the situation, it's still sitting there if they're positive towards it or wanting something to come out of it, essentially, right?
If somebody told me something about my father at a party, maybe a story I didn't know or a memory, well, he did this to you or that to you. I don't think it would matter to me at this point because I've completely forgiven him and he's completely forgiven me. Remember, he's passed. But I did the work on, I down the scale and back up again. So it doesn't matter what they're going to say to me because it's just not there. Now, I did have a podcaster call me out and he said, do you have a picture of your dad somewhere in your house?
Ooh, that, yeah.
And I said, yes and no. I have a picture of my mother displayed because we became friends. Very few people get that chance to have a sober mother for 3 years. Some people don't get that. I was very blessed. I have my father's picture, but it's in a closet. Because just because I forgave him doesn't mean I want a relationship with him. And even though he's passed away, doesn't mean I want to sit and look at his picture every day. I don't.
Yeah. I mean, and I still think that you're getting on one really, really important thing, and that's that I don't have to have a relationship with someone that I forgive. You know, it's just gone.
No, it's gone. You don't have to. You know, if you have a bad relationship with your dad and your sibling says, well, I don't know what you're talking about. I had a perfectly great relationship and you made up half your childhood and blah, 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 blah. We care about that's where we are. If you think all of these thoughts in your head anymore, you could move beyond these things.
That's really good to know because a lot of people just carry around all sorts of stuff all the time.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
And it's all the silly little things, too, that just make you go like, why are you holding on to that? But to us, the pain is so real.
Exactly.
That, of course, if you were me, you would understand, right?
Of course. But these are the things, and when somebody comes up to you and says, why are you holding on to that? Write it down and put it on your forgiveness list. And then rate it from 1 to 10 and put it on your forgiveness list. Before you know it, these things are going to accumulate. And you're going to start to feel 100% better.
That is really good to know because I think everyone could just do what you're suggesting. Actually, at this point, I don't think it's just a suggestion. It's got to be more powerful than that, right?
Well, this forgiveness energy, now I'm going to stretch everybody's brain just a little bit. Might hurt a little bit. I apologize in advance, but forgiveness energy is like the law of gravity. The law of gravity is going to work whether you believe it in or not. You can call the law of gravity anything you want. You can call the law of gravity the law of keeping Catherine on the planet. It doesn't care. It's still going to work.
Yeah.
I don't believe in the law of gravity. It still doesn't care. It's still going to work. So this is going to work whether you believe in it or not. And it's unseen energy that you can't see. You can feel it, but you can't see it. I sat down. This is a true story. I sat down and I forgave somebody I went to school with. Hadn't heard from them in decades. And I mean that. Decades. And I sat down, super easy to forgive. Didn't even have to say anything because it happened in the 19 never minds. So I forgave. And my kids, my two sons who are in their 30s now, they were very young at this point. This was years ago. And so the dog came in and I had to go to soccer and, all these kinds of things.
Yeah.
2 hours later, she calls me up on the phone. I hadn't heard from her in decades. Oh, and wow. I am a concierge trainer by trade, and my training kicked in, so I masked my shock because my jaw hit the floor. And we said the right things, made the appropriate noises. We did what people do. We said what people say. We reminisced, and I couldn't stand it. And I said, I have to know. After all these years, why did you call me today? She said, it was the damnedest thing. 2 hours ago, which is exactly why and when I was saying that mantra I said at the beginning of the show, a figurine you gave me back in school flew off my shelf and landed in the middle of the room. And as I picked it up, I saw it and thought I should give you a call.
Huh.
She was 700 miles away.
Whoa.
If forgiveness has the power to move that figurine 700 miles away for a level 1 person, and it has the power to change the molecules in the water cells within your body, imagine what it's going to do when you get to those higher numbers. Imagine how your life is going to change. Imagine how you're going to feel.
That is crazy to think about because holy cow.
It's a true story.
That is, that would be way too cool. Like, I hope that she had like one of those Ring cameras or something in
she
that
did
room.
Not. It was a long time ago and we didn't have that stuff back then.
Well, yeah. I'm just thinking.
No video evidence of some of this stuff, which some of it I'm actually kind of grateful, but
yeah,
no video evidence.
But that is super interesting that it could happen 700 miles away on a level 1 person.
Yeah.
And like you said, if that happens on level 1, level 10, or even level 3 is breaking my mind with what it could be possible. Because it's kind of like, how much has myself and the things I've held onto really held me back?
Exactly.
Because at this point, it's kind of like, okay, now I'm mad at myself for wasted potential, so I have to forgive that aspect too.
Exactly. Well, yeah, you do. To be honest, you do. You have to forgive yourself for that, for kicking yourself. And imagine, will that dream job walk through your door? Will you win the lottery within 24 hours? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not, probably not. But imagine how you're going to change. You're going to notice things. You're going to see the job opportunity. You wouldn't have seen it before. Why didn't you see it before? Because you were too focused on your stuff. You're going to meet a person who's the perfect person who's going to lead you to the job or the relationship. You wouldn't have noticed that before. Your whole world's going to light up. You're going to see things through a completely different lens. Even in the world we live in, which is very negative and very horrible, you're going to be living in a kind of, well, not a happy bubble per se, as much as I'd like to live in a happy bubble. Thank you very much. But you're going to be able to walk through life more positive. Just don't turn the news on.
Yeah, and that's a...
Don't turn the news on.
Don't turn the news on.
No.
But being positive can just bring about a whole bunch of change. And it really does come about in the ripple effect, it sounds.
It does. It does.
So,
and it's a ripple effect because everything you do is going to be affecting the energy of other people. Now, don't be scared and say, oh my God, everybody's going to start calling me after I forgive them. They probably won't. This was unusual. I forgave a lot of people, and that was the only one that called me back. My father did not come visit me as a ghost, that kind of thing. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, it's okay. Now, some people might call you out of the blue. You can, I mean, with today's technology,
Yeah.
nobody says you have to pick it up.
Yeah. Ooh,
There's ghosting now. I
Yep.
have, just because I've forgiven you doesn't mean I want to have a long conversation with you all of a sudden. Let me give you another example.
Okay.
My mother used to say, every family is the same, only the names are different. So we'll use Aunt Martha, because I don't have an Aunt Martha, very safe name to use.
Okay.
She's a drunk. And she really, I mean, she's a bad drunk. And she doesn't shower much, so she smells. And she has a really bad mouth on her. She cusses a lot. And every Thanksgiving, your parents, bless their heart, sit you next to Aunt Martha. And she loves to push your buttons and make you mad. It's what it makes her happy. And the more angry people get, the happier she gets. My father was the same way. And so what are you going to do? Usually it takes you a week to psych yourself up to go to the family party because you know she's going to be there. You know what she's going to say. And then it takes you 2 weeks to come down from it. So that's like a month. What do you do? Okay, about a month or so prior to whatever you have to do, the wedding, the funeral, I don't know what it is. I want you to pick apart the memories. Take one memory and pick it apart. I want you to forgive the table you all sat at. I'm not kidding. Forgive the food on the table, the chair you sit in, the chair she sat in. We're not forgiving Aunt Martha yet. We're forgiving the memory. Forgive the room that it was in. Forgive the house that was in. Forgive the city. Forgive the car that drove you there. And then check in with your body. You still mad? Of course you're still mad. Okay, well, maybe it's down a little tick. Maybe, you know, it's gone down from a 7 down to a 6. Still haven't forgiven Aunt Martha. Okay, pick another memory. Do it again. Can you forgive Aunt Martha? No. Forgive the energy around Aunt Martha. And do that every few days for a few weeks using different memories. Maybe by using that, you get her down to a 5 by the time the wedding comes. What's going to happen? She's still going to be there.
Yeah.
She's still going to be drinking. Yeah. She's still going to be, you know, Aunt Martha, I'm going to push your buttons. I'm going to make you mad. But here's the trick. It's not going to work this time. You're not going to care. In fact, you'll probably laugh at her. And here's the real fun part of this whole thing. There's some entertainment value here. I have a very dark sense of humor. And the angrier she gets because she's not pushing your buttons and getting the usual reaction, well, the happier I get, because this is just entertaining now, because she's going to get all bent out of shape because it's not going to affect you. You're not going to care. She's still level 5. You probably still have work to do, but you really won't care. You just won't. And everybody's going to say, what's wrong with you? It's like, what's wrong with her? It's not me. You're going to have a different perspective.
Yep, I was about to say your perspective shift is just happening right there.
Yep.
And I love it.
You won't care. Will it change Aunt Martha? No. You know, will you be able to get her to a rehab? Probably not. You know, they have to want it, right? You can lead a horse to water. You can't make it drink, but you could try, you know.
Yep.
I had somebody who said their mother needed my book, and I said, what are you going to do? She said, I'm going to buy your book and leave it on her coffee table. And I followed back with her, and I said, what happened? She said, nothing. I said, what about the book? Still there, but at least it makes me happy when I go over, and it reminds me to be nice to her. I thought it was really funny.
That is great. I love that. We are right near the end of this episode. So real quick, do you got any shout outs that you'd like to do for yourself? Any businesses? Who else are you grateful for in your forgiveness journey?
I'm grateful for a lot of people. I have a great, inner circle around me. And I'm kind of crazy. I have written a lot of books. And if you go to my website, which is KatharineGiovanni.com, and Catherine is spelled very odd, thanks to my mother, Katharine, Giovanni.com. I've got private sessions in there, all sorts of books in there that will help you out. And I'm very, very, very intuitive. So there's some very intuitive kind of things with my private sessions.
Okay. So KatharineGiovanni.com. And then is there anything someone cannot reach out to you about?
No.
Okay.
It's all good.
Well,
you see, I've always thought that if something I've gone through helps even one person, then it's worth it. So I wrote a book called Rainbows and Banana Peels about my breast cancer journey. I wrote a book called The Little Bird in Your Shoulder, which teaches you how to tap into your intuition and have a conversation with it. And I've This book is the first of 3 on forgiveness. So, and there's some business books in there as well. So,
Okay.
it's all good.
Sweet. Well, you are a woman of many talents, and it is super awesome that we have been able to pick your brain and have you tell us all about your forgiveness power, because that's really what it is. It is a superpower. I'm just saying that for...
It is. It's a superpower we all have.
Yes. So, superpower, it's not a rare superpower. Everyone has it.
Well, everybody thinks it's a rare superpower because nobody wants to forgive, because you're all thinking of your unforgivable people. Just don't go there. Think of the easy ones.
If you had one last thing to say to the audience, what would it be?
You are worthy to live a life of joy and love. It's your birthright. You're not meant to live in a refrigerator box in the street. You're not meant to live in fear and lack and all of these horrible things. You're meant to live in joy, and you're meant to live in happiness. You are worthy to lead the life that you want.
That's beautiful. I love that. Thank you for sharing that with the audience. Real quick, do you know a certain number that someone can call if they're having any kind of mental health crisis?
Yes. It's 3 digits, and it's brand new, too. They just came out with that National Suicide Hotline about 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. I can't remember what it is. I want to say it's 988, but I don't think that's right.
You're the first person to get it.
Was it 988?
Yep.
I tried to commit suicide at one point, so when that hotline went out during National Suicide Month, I was all over it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for helping spread the message, and also, I'm just really glad that you're still here. So
me too.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, everyone, this has been Catherine Giovanni. And Catherine, do you think we could see you on the show maybe in the future again?
It would be my pleasure anytime.
Sweet. Well, unfortunately, we have reached the end of this episode, so we just got to go. But everyone out there, I thank you for listening to Retrieving Sanity on WDJY 99.1 and wherever else you may have listened to it. Don't forget to leave a comment, and let us know, what are your forgiveness tactics? Did you unwrap an onion layer by layer, or did you just try to eat the whole onion at once? So remember, keep it to 10 a night if they're less than 8, right?
That's correct.
All right. So everyone out there, get to work on forgiving yourself, other people, and maybe the world will be a little bit of a better place with that. So with that, thank you again for listening, and we'll catch you next week. Schlan.